Aristotle once said, "The roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet." Respected dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, the beloved parents, graduates, faculty and staff, very good morning to all of you. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here amidst you participating in your graduation ceremony. I am extremely impressed with Amal Jyothi. The reasons are many, but I will be very brief for the lack of time. We all know that Amal Jyothi is an extremely successful institution, but you should all think, why so? What is the secret of success of Amal Jyothi? I am not very familiar. I came here to the institution only yesterday evening, but you have been all here for years together in this institution. The key, there are many important reasons which I could gather as an outsider. One of the most important reasons is the dedication. It's the missionary zeal. It's the dedication of the entire team, whether it's the manager or the principal or the faculty and staff. I see that spark in their eyes. I see the energy, extremely high energy level, the motivation. All this comes from the top. I know the patron has done something great. The patron has sowed the seed and the plant is germinating excellently. It's going to become a great banyan tree, providing education to thousands of people, not only from this area, not only from this country. I'm sure for the entire world, this is going to be center if this work continues. So I congratulate all the top people and the faculty and staff of Amal Jyothi for doing it. And of course, they cannot do it without you, the graduates, right? You have worked hard. See, look at all the achievements, whether it's the science contest or it's the innovation contest or the placement success. It's all because of the hard work which the students and the graduates have put in. So a big round of applause to all of you for all your hard work. Now you are going to taste the fruit which is going to be sweet in life. You have worked hard. Some of you will be going for higher education. Some of you will be going for placement. And some of you, I'm sure, are going to venture into starting something of their own, the entrepreneurship spirit. I also appreciate Amal Jyothi's initiatives in encouraging innovation. Albert Einstein once said, imagination is more important than knowledge. You have to remember this, right? You can easily mug up something and go and write in the exam. That's the lower order thinking. If you want higher order thinking, you got to innovate. You got to imagine. You got to visualize things. All of you, or most of you, are engineers here. You got to visualize and do things. Goethe once said, knowing is not enough. We must apply. Willing is not enough. We must do. So you got to be action people. You got to visualize, think and execute what you want to do. Again, coming back to Amal Jyothi, I also wanted to appreciate the IEDC and all the research initiatives which are embarking on. And anybody can start an engineering college these days. It has come to that. But only a few have the vision to become a great institution. That's why Father Jose is embarking on signing MOUs with foreign universities and leading Indian universities to promote research. For an engineering college, research is not a must, but he wants to do it because I know ultimately, I'm sure Amal Jyothi is going to become a university of its own. Please mark my words, it's going to happen. I'm sure the way to become a university is to become autonomous first and then become a university. The day is not far off. And I really appreciate the Amal Jyothi's efforts in getting the TIFAC Center and getting NBA accreditation. That's another big achievement. Please give a bigger round of applause to the team. It's the first engineering college among the new gen colleges to obtain NBA accreditation for many of its programs and its continuing. As Professor Varghese pointed out, the higher education is going through an important phase in India. We all need to work on improving our gross enrollment ratio, the GER. The government policy, both center and various states, need to encourage the private sector, because government cannot do this huge Herculean task on its own. There are many private people who are interested in spreading the knowledge, in increasing the GER. So I request all the government authorities to facilitate this expansion program of the private sector, which will eventually lead to India becoming the most developed nation in the world. That day is also not far off. So that's my request to all the government authorities. I mean, one of the key factors in growth is for an education institution is the freedom, is the autonomy for the universities and the education institutions to work on their own so that they can innovate and then they achieve a lot. I want to give you a small story. I was listening to the speech of Vangari Maathai. She's a Nobel laureate. She was the first woman Nobel laureate from Africa. And I was listening to her speech and she dictated a story. There was a dense forest. You are not unfamiliar with forest, you are living in the forest. There's a dense forest, and during summer time, there was a wildfire. There was a wildfire in the forest. So, all the animals started running out of the forest into the country. The deer, the lions, tigers, even the elephants, rhinoceros, all the big animals started running out of the forest. Naturally, they want to escape the fire. They want to run out of the forest. But then, there was one little sparrow which was going towards the forest, towards the wildfire. You know what it was doing? From the pond outside, it was carrying 2 drops of water in its beak and going and putting it on the fire. And it went and put it there, came back and took another 2 drops, went and put it again on the fire. All these animals laughed, right? The elephant, which has a huge trunk, all these big animals laughed at the sparrow and said, "How are you going to put out the fire? Your beak can carry only 2 drops of water. This is a huge fire. How are you going to put out this fire? You are wasting your energy. It's a waste of energy." Why? And they just started laughing at the sparrow. For that the sparrow said, "Doesn't matter. I am doing my best to put out the fire. I don't really care if I can put out the entire fire. All I am doing is I am doing my best to put out the fire. I want each and every one of you to fight against corruption. Corruption in this country is a huge fire. I know you are all sparrows, which can carry only 1 or 2 drops to put out the corruption fire. But don't get discouraged by people saying that, what are you going to do? You are a small person. You are 1 in 1.2 billion people. How can you put out this fire of corruption? But you can do it. Like that small sparrow, if all the sparrows join together, and if all the big animals, the elephants, join together, take the water and put it on the fire will go down. Will you do it? I can't hear you. Yes. Corruption is one of the biggest problems facing our nation. Why are we poor? Indians are poor. Why are we poor? Do we lack natural resources? We have one of the most bountiful resources in the world. You see Singapore, what do they have? They don't have water. They import water. They don't have rice growing in them. They don't have anything. It's one of the developed nations. What does Japan have? What does Dubai have? Nothing. They do not have any natural resources. All they do is work hard without any corruption. right? Here, the biggest problem our country faces is that many of the people in power are corrupt. So what happens is, it increases the inflation and then the price goes up and the common man is affected. Now whether it's job or whether it's, there are many fields where corruption is going on, but as an individual, you should resolve that I will never receive bribes, I will never give bribes. If every Indian resolves that way, there will be no corruption. Of course, the people who are at the power, now I seriously suggest you to write the IAS exam or the IES exam and become administrators of this nation so you can create a change. There is actually a new breed of officials who are coming up who are free from corruption, but the number is small. I also want to think about it, right? We are all thinking about our lives, our family, but you should also think about society. The society has given you so much. What do you return to the society, right? You remember what JFK said, John F. Kennedy, ask not what the country did to you, ask what you did to the country. So ask yourself that question every day. What are you giving back to the society? Our society is filled with poor people. Are you going to return back to the society? All of you are fortunate to get a degree from such a wonderful institution. But for each one of you, there are 100 people who cannot afford this education. What are you going to do about this problem? You need to help. Once you start earning, you need to provide employment when you start an industry, or at least help poor students, especially from rural communities, to come and get education. So that's one of the messages, key messages, which I want you to take back today. Of course, there's another appeal. One appeal which I made to you is think of administration, Indian administration service as your career. I also want you to consider teaching as a profession. You know, we are all running education institutions. Of course, father would realize how tough it is to get teachers. You know, all of you, want some cushy jobs, go abroad and all that. I agree, no problem about it. But some of you have that research bent, some of you have that teaching bent. So you should seriously consider academic profession as your career. And nowadays the pay is also good. So it's a very rewarding profession which is going to be very fulfilling for you. You know the Maslow's theory of motivation, of hierarchical needs, right? Only to a certain level, money, all the physical things will fulfill your needs. But as you go up in life, what fulfills you is the higher order. You should get that satisfaction of doing something in life. That satisfaction you can get out of teaching. As a professor, I'm sure when your students come out and they become big personalities in life, that satisfaction. So I really appeal to you to consider teaching as a profession. The other point which I wanted to mention is about flexibility. Flexibility to change, to the environment. You know what Charles Darwin said? It is not the strongest of the species, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is the most adaptable to change. Are you ready for change? Right? As you grow in your career, you will see that a lot of things change. You cannot hold on to what you just studied in your college. You got to update yourself. You got to keep learning. Alvin Toffler is a futurist. He said, tomorrow's illiterate will not be the man who can't read. He will be the man who has not learned how to learn. So, you should realize that life means continuous learning. Never stop learning. Thank you.